Welcome to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. My name is Brandon. I'm a lifetime Florida State Seminole fan.
And I'm Chris, and I'm an excited Gator fan.
And it is finally here.
Yes.
Hogtown versus Tally-Ho.
Okay.
Gators versus Seminoles. The Florida Cup. The Sunshine Showdown. Say that 3 times fast.
That 3 times fast.
Boom. The state of Florida finally has a champion because Florida played Miami this year. Mullen versus Odell. Back in the swamp. Rivalries. The reason we met. The reason we secretly hate each other. It's here. It's rivalry week. How are you feeling, Chris?
I am excited. I'm pumped. Part of me is always nervous, for sure. But I'm excited. I'm glad it's here. Rivalry week, man. Love it.
It is. It is, it's why this show even exists. So,
yes. Thanks
everybody for coming back. And, yes, we are good about putting aside differences, but I'm curious to see in this next conversation how well that actually happens this week. It's the toughest week of the year to do that.
Yeah, this is tough because, make no mistake about it, I hate Florida State. I absolutely do not like them. But I like you, and there's a good handful of Florida State fans out there,
yeah.
Some family members, some friends that I like. But this week, we're not friends.
No, it's way beyond that. It's, hey, we got to put aside the differences, and no, we won't, actually.
No. Right now, we are associates.
Yeah, there you go. We're business partners
this week,
in this transaction.
Yes. This week, we are associates.
Yep. But yeah, so this will be a little different, and we're going to kind of break contain a little bit here, throw a jailbreak screen pass, if you will. Chris, I'll let you get started. What are some things you see Florida's overall season going into this game, and just some ways you think they can win, et cetera?
Yeah, the Gators go in on a 2-game winning streak. They didn't win the East in the SEC like they wanted to, but there's a lot to play for. They still have an outside chance at a New Year's Six. Now, a few things have to happen. There's 3 SEC teams ahead of them. They are ranked at this time, I believe, depending on what poll, I think 10.
Yeah.
And so they'd have to have an SEC team lose, like a Georgia lose this week, or an Alabama. But there's a chance. But in order for them to even talk about the New Year's Six, they have to take care of their in-state rivals, that is the Seminoles. And they have to take this game serious. It's a night game in the swamp. And Mullen says several times in these games, if you have to get up, or if you have to have a motivating speech for a rivalry game, something's wrong with your team. And I don't think that we're going to take this one lightly. We broke the win streak last year, and we want to start one of our own, continue one of our own. So we're really looking forward to this game. And so it's a game where Florida should win, but with rivalry games, you never know. You never just are 100%.
Yep.
And how about the Noles?
Yeah, overall this season, probably slightly underperforming. You come in at 6-5. You like the Gators. You said coming off a 2-game win streak, but it was against Boston College and Alabama State. Plus, you had a bye week. Probably your best win of the year was a Louisville team early on, but that one kind of dwindled. And they were probably a couple of plays away from having a losing record going in here. So you lose your head coach about a month ago. This season looks completely different. You thought they'd be pretty comfortable to go 7 or 8 wins, and then, maybe the Florida game would give you your 8th or 9th. And here you are saying, okay, we've earned a bowl already. We're going to the swamp. Let's not forget, guys, the Gators have not won at home in this series in 10 years. 4 straight losing games in the swamp when they play the Seminoles. And, you have a chance here. Odell Haggins, your coach, he's got nothing to lose. There's a lot at play here. So, they definitely don't really have a signature win. This would definitely be one.
It's going to be a fun one for sure. Let's talk a little bit about, first we'll go with how how Florida wins this game, and then we'll talk about how ways that Florida State can win the game.
Okay.
So we could tie in strengths and weaknesses any way we want to here, but with Florida, the things you look at, they have a pretty good defense. They have a really good defense. They've had some games. That LSU game, they gave up 42 points, but a lot of people gave up a lot of points to LSU, so I'm not too worried about that. But overall, their defense is playing pretty good, and I like how we have Grenard coming off the edge, being the heart and soul of that defense. I love our pass rush. Had some injuries. Zachary Carter's out for the year. Was supposedly, and I've been hearing this for 3 weeks now, so I'll believe it when I see it. Supposedly, Jabari Zuniga is going to be ready to go. And if he's there and if he's healthy, him and Grenard coming off the edge is going to be really key for us and good for us. Just haven't had that game where they both have been on the field, except for that first one against Miami.
Okay.
They've been both in and out, but hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll both be there. I like the way that we've rotated our corners. We figured out a good rotation, especially with Marco Wilson moving to the nickel corner / star. Other than that, I think we're pretty good as far as being healthy. Amari Burney at linebacker should be healthy by then. So I like our defense. I really like the way that they're playing. I know that FSU's O-line has had their struggles, to say the least, this year. So I really like that matchup for sure. I like Henderson and Kaiir Elam on the corners. You do have to worry about their big play ability, Florida State, but I like them. And then Steiner and Davis and Juwan Taylor rotating at the safety position. They've been doing a good job this year. And David Reese up in the middle, I really like the way they're stopping the run game as well. So that's definitely a strength of ours, is the overall defense. We said this last podcast, 5 games this year where they didn't allow an opponent to score a touchdown, 3 shutouts. I don't know if we'll do that with Florida State, but I like that we have those players and those playmakers on defense. On the offensive side of the ball, I really like Florida's passing game. I think we know who we are now. We're not a running team. We're just not going to run the ball down your throat. We will maybe throw some screens, and Emory Jones will come in, and Kadarius Toney for sure. But I like that we have our strength is our receivers. Yep. We spread the ball around. Trask is coming in, settle us down a little bit. When he throws picks, he doesn't get rattled. He's putting up some good numbers. So I really like that matchup, our receivers against Florida State's corners. Because outside of Nasruddin, who's coming on lately, I'm not really seeing many playmakers in the secondary. I think that's a weakness of Florida State. So I like that matchup for the Gators for sure. Now, our offensive line is still figuring out what they're doing, but they're doing enough for this season. I like Pitts, wherever our tight end, who's kind of like a receiver, wherever they line him up, I like that matchup. But say you got FSU's top 2 or 3 guys on Jefferson, Swain, and Pitts. Well, I like him. Grimes coming in there and Hammond. And then you throw a guy like Toney who can do pretty much everything in. So I'm liking the offense there. So what are you seeing? What are, in your eyes, ways that Florida wins this game, or strengths that they have going in this game?
Yeah, I think you utilize some of the weaknesses. So I'll talk about Florida offense to Florida State defense first. You mentioned with Pitts, if he gets pressure, he gets released off of Janaris Robinson, who plays defensive end, then he's probably going to be open over the middle. Linebacker play has been pretty poor with Jackson. Nasruddin has obviously been the high point, but if you just run it to the other side of the field, should be good there. Corners, we only have 8 interceptions on the year, a lot of pass breakups, but we are not a team that turns the ball over. I think we even went a stretch this season with 3 games, no turnovers. And that's something you have to take advantage of in a rivalry game against a top 10 team. Trask has thrown 1 or 2 per game, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that you just can't let hit the ground. You have to capitalize there. You have to turn it over to your offense to see. You're right with spreading the ball around. Our secondary probably can't keep up with it. There's not been a lot of great play, a lot of young guys there. Lars Woodby being out has forced some guys into more playing time. You do see Emmett Rice having some pretty good pressure up the middle, but with Marvin Wilson out the rest of the year, that's going to be interesting. Actually, it won't hurt us all too much because Florida doesn't run the ball. And running up the middle, it was one of our strengths of the season with Wilson, Durden, and Cooper. And I just don't see Florida doing that maybe a handful of times the entire game. Yeah. So we're not hurting too much in that one area, but getting the outside, Janaris Robinson is really about it. You have some guys that have the potential, but unless Janaris is back in the backfield 5 to 6 times during this game, probably not going to matter. And I think you should probably expect the same amount of rushing yards in this type of game unless something crazy happens.
Mm-hmm.
But those are ways that Florida just stick with what you're doing and limit that turnover, but also know that they probably are not going to force one.
Yeah. I really, and I've said this a couple times, but I really like that matchup, our receivers and Florida State's corners. I think we want to run. I think we try to kind of backwards. We pass to set up the run, but we're not good at it. I know it's what we want to do. But I like I like the fact that if this receiver is not working, we'll throw in another guy, and then you have Kadarius Toney's pretty healthy, and then you have Emory Jones, that little wrinkle there. Not always sold on how Mullen uses them 100% of the time, but I like that we can, if for some reason that our offensive line isn't doing well, and Trask is making bad decisions and holds the ball too long, we can go to Emory Jones and just give us a breather and add a different element to the game there. So I like that. So I just like the way we're clicking on offense. Not perfect by any stretch, but it's good enough, and they are rolling, and I'm real confident in our receivers, and Mullen as a play caller as well.
Yeah, and the biggest thing Florida is going to have to do is they're going to have to take some gambles here. They're going to have to sell out on a 4th down. They're going to have to try and bend, not break, because they know that the passing yards are going to be there. And you're going to have to take some chances and try and create some of those rare turnovers. Yeah. You're going to give up big plays because of that, but it's a risk you're going to have to take because you know Florida's going to score anyway. So why not go after it?
Yeah. Another thing that the Gators do have going for them, I think that they have the special teams advantage. McPherson and Townsend have been solid all year, and we haven't returned that well, but we haven't allowed any returns because Townsend and McPherson are kicking so well, and McPherson's making his field goals. So.
Yeah, that has me worried because DJ Matthews is like a secret weapon in a game like this. You know, he's the guy that has returned a lot of kickoffs and a lot of punts, and he's the kind of guy that can squirm free. He's like our version of Tony. Mm-hmm. Where he can be very, very dangerous, and he's actually against Miami last year returned a punt for a touchdown, and that's something that's kind of one of our hidden strengths with the punting game. Now our punter Tommy Martin's kind of struggled because he came in late, he's shanked a few, so he's definitely not a strength. But our punt returns, we're definitely going to be setting up for the return and not the block.
Okay.
So keep that in mind. But I imagine Townsend, with all of his skill, is going to do everything he can so there's no returns at all, which may mean you sacrifice some field position, but it's probably worth taking.
Yeah,
to be completely honest. Yeah, you definitely have us in the kicking game. Aguayo's 6 of 11 on the year, and he's had his struggles, and even if we had like 2 of those kicks back, we'd probably have another victory or 2. So he's going to be the guy this game. They're not going to take him out. It's his last game. He has cachet with his last name, Aguayo, so he's not going anywhere. This is one chance to shine. He has hit a 53-yarder this year to his credit. Okay. So, he definitely has the strength, and it's just a matter of timing it up. Last thing I'll say is our offense versus Florida's defense has me very worried. But also, I think Florida's defense should be a little bit worried here, too. Obviously, all our success goes through Cam Akers. If he is running, he's going to be 7 to 8 yards a touch. And we're going to get 25 to him. Heck, we may even push it to 30. This is the last game as a Knoll maybe, aside for the bowl game. So lay it all on the line. You got Terry, who has huge playability, but I'm really scared of Florida's secondary. This is something that they've constantly shut down receivers, but I don't know the SEC very well. This might be one of the top 5 you faced all year. So he's probably going to get loose a few times. Plus, he has a little bit of a personality, so he may get in their head. Who knows? And this may be a game where he's targeted 9 to 10 times instead of 5 to 7.
Yeah.
You also get DJ Matthews the ball. You have Trey McKitty coming back. Gabe Neighbors are also decent tight ends that can get some options. But it doesn't matter if our offensive line doesn't block Grenard and company. It's not going to matter a lick. What we've seen is if it's Hornibrook behind center, he takes a sack. He took 9 in 2 games. If it's Blackman, he rushes the throw and throws a pick. So the ways that Florida State can win this game is maintaining some kind of quick passing game, setting up a long throw or 2 down the field, maintaining some kind of quick scoring drive. We're not going to be a team that holds the ball forever. We're not like Florida did against LSU and just hold the ball the entire game. We're a score quick and then hope your defense can allow some drives but force some mistakes too. Plus get lucky in special teams here and there. So those are some ways that Florida State can keep it. Go through Cam Akers, get your playmakers not just involved, but the whole focus of your game plan, and just see what happens.
Yeah, I definitely like the playmaking ability of Terry. Now, like you said, we do have pretty good secondary, but our safeties at times have been out of place. And if we should not go to zone. If we stick to man, we should be okay. So that at least one guy is accounted for, or on a receiver. But our safeties have been there's been some misreads, and we've let some people go deep and just wide open. In LSU and Georgia, it killed us. Vanderbilt, we had a guy run wide open. Thankfully, their quarterback was their third stringer and didn't hit him. So Terry does worry me a little bit in that I know that he's great at just the deep ball, and Blackman, if he's the quarterback, is great at throwing the deep ball.
Yep.
So that worries me a little bit, but it's not going to matter if he's on his back. Yep. And that's what it's going to – if Florida State can get just somewhat of pass blocking, somewhat, just I think, you could find a DJ Matthews underneath or a Terry up top. So – it's all going to come down to that. I think if they can stop Grenard, if Zuniga is indeed healthy, if Grenard stays healthy, sometimes we send De Abate, the freshman, in that spot there, and Grantham loves to blitz the corners too. If Florida can continue their defense in the pressure, I think we'll be fine. If Florida State just gets some kind of, maybe if they roll Blackman out, I am kind of worried about Travis now that he's coming on.
Yeah.
Some mobile quarterbacks give us fits. So that kind of worries me a little bit, and I am worried about FSU's playmakers in Akers now that he's resting. So that kind of worries me. If Florida State gets some kind of time, I think that they could potentially give Florida trouble on offense.
Yeah. The name of the game is throwing wrinkles in. And by that I mean run the wild cam. Have him throw 2 or 3 passes. Have Jordan Travis run it, because after you set that up, you actually have a running quarterback versus you don't have the Blackman and Hornibrook. They're very much sit back and, in one case, very slim. So if you have him going out there and causing some contact and getting loose, Travis already has 3 rushes this year that went 25 plus. Those are huge kinds of plays that you have to create for yourself. Now, David Reese may have something to say about that, but if we're able to figure out a way to get outside and make that happen, then yeah, it could be long. And the other way that Florida State has to do it, you cannot allow this game to get away from you. Mm-hmm. The Noles have to keep it close. You have to be within 7 going in the fourth quarter. If it's not even that, then there's no shot at this, because you do have the quick drives and the comeback ability, but you don't have the athletes. Look at your offensive line. They're pretty bad. Mm-hmm. You have the playmakers and the skill players on the outside, but you can't get the ball to them. So it becomes harder and harder as the game goes on to create ways to do that. So that's another way they can keep it close late and make sure that the the offense can confuse the defense as much as they possibly can, but Todd Grantham does a great job of scheming up a great game plan.
Yeah, it's really rare that I expect Florida State to throw in those wrinkles, and I expect them to. I mean, why not? So I wouldn't be surprised if they caught us off guard a little bit. But it's rare that we don't make those adjustments in game or halftime. So I've only seen that a handful of times where they just got out coached at halftime. If Florida State is within striking distance at halftime, it worries me. But as long as I just feel that if Florida can make it to halftime with either a close game or the lead, we got the second half because we're strong in the second half. But the thing, though, that is the great equalizer that Florida State has to win is a turnover battle.
Yeah.
If they win the turnover battle, then anything's up. It's all up for grabs,
Yep.
And so far they haven't been. They haven't been falling on those fumbles and picking those balls off. But if they do it this game, they could. They could definitely hang around. And like you said, they have to hang around, give them an opportunity, force some turnovers. Although Florida does have a great defense, there are times where we let the big play happen, and Florida State has the big play ability.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely ways Florida State can win this game, for sure.
Yep. Florida State has to be very careful. You have to scheme up the right blocking on your offensive line. If you bring in your backup running back, Khalil Laburn, to block, that's fine. Backup tight end, that's fine. Get an extra blocker in there because it can get away quick. Look at Miami when they played Florida. You got after the quarterback 10 times. Florida State they took 9 sacks against the Hurricanes. Now that was Hornibrook, so I would imagine Florida's going to play in the rest of the year. But we know that Florida is one of the top 10 in sacks in the nation, and that can just kill you. And that's exactly what they can't afford to happen. So that, to me, is the biggest priority for keeping this game close.
Yeah. So far, when we've played elite offensive linemen, we haven't been done much. But any O-line that is either equal or subpar, if you will, we've done pretty well. And I think we're getting, other than Jeremiah Moon, he's out for the year, but everybody else should be on the defense, especially the line and linebackers, for the most part healthy. Interesting that Brad Stewart, our safety, who I think might be our best overall safety, just as far as like athleticism and knowing where to be and. Uh-huh. I don't think he played against Missouri. The Vanderbilt game, it looked like he got injured pretty bad. He's supposed to be back. If he doesn't play, I'm just thinking like worst case scenario is if he doesn't play and Janika doesn't play, I could see that Florida State has that potential to hurt us. I think a lot of stuff has to fall into place though.
Yep.
It could. This has to go right, this has to go right, this has to go right, and this has to go right for them to get the victory. But with rivalry games, you never know. You never know.
Yeah, staying ahead of the chains, and that's exactly what Cam Akers is designed to do. I can't imagine Florida overlooks that and just stops him. That's exactly what would be a disaster for FSU. Is if you can't establish the running game, nothing else is going to work.
Right.
But I think both teams are probably going to start off pretty cautious against each other.
Yeah.
Florida's last game against Missouri, 6-3 at half, kind of tiptoeing, walking on eggshells. Even the bigger games Florida played, like LSU, Auburn, kind of a slowish start, but Mullen's not afraid to take a risk and go for it on 4th down the first drive of the game, or like at Tennessee, go deep and make sure you get a quick early lead. And maybe Florida State should mimic that, kind of steal that mentality. Hey, if you win the coin toss, maybe we get the ball first.
Right.
Hey, maybe we run some trick plays here and there.
Yeah, you want to have either be within striking distance or have the lead. Like You definitely want that because if Florida has the lead at halftime, I think that we should be able to handle the second half. But Florida State has the lead going into halftime. Who knows? Who knows? And
Yep.
you want to make it a 4-quarter game for sure.
Yeah.
Make it.
Florida State is going to have to outscore Florida to win this one. All right, defense is giving up 27 points a game on a ton of yards.
Mm-hmm.
So we know Florida's just going to score. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
Again, unless some crazy turnovers or, penalties to stop drives, something, I would love to see Townsend 12 times in this game. That would be wonderful. I just don't imagine it.
Right. Yeah. So let's predict this game. How do we see it playing out? I really think that the first quarter is going to be 7-3, Florida. Like it's going to be a low scoring game. I really think that going into halftime, it's going to be a 1-score game. I just think that the first quarter we're going to be feeling each other out and making some adjustments, maybe surprising us a little bit. But I think it might be a low-scoring first half, but Florida outlasts Florida State. I just think that our offense is going to be too much. I think Florida State's going to get their shots on their offense. I think Florida State can score some points on Florida's defense. I don't know if they can stop Florida enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they can hang with us offensively. Sometimes our offense doesn't like to show up, and we do throw picks, but I don't know if Florida State is going to do enough for Florida. But I'm going to go Florida 34, FSU 20.
Oh, 14.
Yeah, I think it's – I mean, it can. It should get out of hand, and it can.
Yeah.
But I'm just seeing FSU's ability to score lately to really makes me nervous in this game a little bit. But I think it's going to be like 14, but like FSU scores a late touchdown, like something like that.
Okay. So getting like 13 in meaningful time. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the defense for Florida can certainly do that. I think that Florida State, again, athletic-wise, just can't match up O-line to Florida's D-line. And that's a big one. The playmakers are there. And if you can figure out some kind of way, we do a lot of these quick blocks, and I think that's going to open up those long – we probably will have a touchdown of 50-plus yards, whether it's a Jordan Travis run, which – is less likely than like a Tamar and Terry pass or DJ Matthews weaving his way through. But I do think Aguayo comes through in this game. I think that every guy plays his best. But in the end, even though it's going to be close through third quarter, I really agree that the Gators can come out on top. I'm going to take it 34-24.
Okay.
For Gator victory.
So we all agree that Florida's going to score 34 points.
Well, it's a nice, good number. That's actually probably giving Florida State's defense a little credit, honestly, that they can stop that kind of passing attack. Florida tends to use short passes, just like most teams do, to like establish the run and keep themselves ahead of the chains. And I don't see – there's going to be times when Travis is going to do that, and we're going to get called for PI. Or they're going to just have a pass that they're going to deflect and should be picked off, but won't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been some of the things that plagued us all year. I would love to take the Noles to win this game, and I could imagine it 100 different ways, but I have to be realistic here. Florida's a top 10 team, and Florida State 6-5. You're right, and I don't like the cliche that you can throw out the record books. That's not really how I see this. I already mentioned the ways that they could possibly do it, but realistically, I think they lose by 10.
Yeah, and I think throwing in the fact that it's in Gainesville at night really helps. And we're kind of down a little bit. We didn't win the East, like I said, and we kind of went through the motions a little bit, if you will, versus Missouri. But I think we're going to be up for this game, and knowing that we can possibly get a New Year's Six, and it's Florida State and night game at the Swamp, I think that's just going to be just too much. I think Florida State's going to give us our best. I think Florida State can pop a long one here and there, but I don't know if they can do enough for the Gators. And there are ways, and turnovers are the great equalizer, and I think if Florida State wins that battle, they're going to put themselves in a position to win the game. But I think Florida's just going to be just too much.
Yep. Ben Hill Griffin under the lights.
Yeah.
Spurrier Field, is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Dig 'em Gators, all that other garbage I don't like to hear. Yeah, well,
if you ain't a Gator, you Gator bait,
The only way Florida State can get over in this game and keep it competitive or pull off the upset would be some kind of emotional victory. Numbers-wise, athletic-wise, Florida's got it all. And it doesn't mean you always win games. We've seen plenty of upsets happen this year.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put it past the Gators to slip up and make some mistakes. And, I just haven't seen it this season. Like last year would have made more sense, and then we lost 41-14.
Yeah.
This year, it's just not there. So here's hoping that we're both wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Missouri, these last two games really told me a lot about the Gators. It's just not. Yeah, we didn't look the greatest, but we won the game against Missouri on the road, and it really wasn't. It was in hand the whole game. Vanderbilt, it was slow start, but we win like 56-0. We're just not that. I mean, I could be wrong, but as of right now, we're not that team that just looks back or gets down on ourselves, or we're just a little bit different. So I think that Mullen does a great job of coaching them up and getting them ready and game planning. And now that we have, I know Florida State also has a bye week, but Florida has 2 weeks to be prepared and get healthy. And I think it's just going to be too much.
Yep, I will say pretty certain if Florida State were to pull this upset, Odell Haggins is definitely Florida State's next head coach. You can't say no if he wins this game.
They sign him in the swamp.
Yeah. On the way out, on the Gatorhead Trophy, just here's the dotted line, sir. Do it.
That would be the worst.
The other thing with this, Chris, is it could be the opposite of like Ron Zook.
Oh no!
Which it could be like the night they named the field after. Yeah. I'm getting too excited here. And then Ron Zook zooked us and beat us in Tallahassee. So it could be one of those like reverse scenarios where like, oh, interim head coach beats the well-established better coach. But the chances of that are pretty slim. I think we're both agreeing.
Yeah, and Florida State is definitely playing different. Although it's BC and Alabama State, I get it, but they look different. And I mean, you're dealing with kids, and emotion and momentum is a big factor. Mm-hmm. So you do have to consider that. You do have to consider that for sure. I just don't know if it's. I just think Florida's a little bit different than the years past.
Yep. I would love to say like the first drive on each side will show you how they're going to play the rest of the game. But to your point about Florida starting slow and then picking it up in the second half, that's really not the case for these two teams this year.
Yeah. I mean, I would not be surprised. End of the first quarter, Florida State's up 7-3. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Okay. But I'm not going to be worried either.
Yeah.
If they have the lead midway through the third, then I'm kind of worried.
Okay.
But we'll see.
Yeah, we will. And it will be a glorious watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. Oh, right. Man, well, what a year, and I can't wait for the recap after this game's over. Well.
I can't. Well,
yeah, I figured you'd probably do that one.
I don't want to. I try not to do the smack talk before a game.
I got
try not to.
You're right. Anything can happen. That's something Bobby Bowden used to say. You put any two teams on a field together, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's why they play the game.
That's why they play the game. Yep. All right, man. Well, let's wrap up so I can get back to not talking to you this week.
Okay. Fair enough.
How can the fans reach out with their thoughts on the Florida State-Florida matchup?
Hit us up at floridafocuspodcast.com. That's where you can listen to all the episodes or find the ways to listen to the episodes, and then you can contact us and let us know who you think's going to win and why.
Yep. You can listen to our entire back catalog, every game recap and previous entire season. You can also subscribe for free. It's no cost to you. We give this to you because we love the game and we love you, the community.
Oh, we do. Not each other though. We can't stand each other this week.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, Chris. Anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, man. I'm excited. Nervous. Super nervous.
Yep.
But excited overall.
Let's do this. This is Brandon Seminoles.
Go Gators.